Well, it's that time of year when skies are a bit cloudier. That change in weather can have a big impact on your brain. Molly is here with more on how the impact is greater if you suffer from seasonal depression.
Yeah, Tracy, that's right. And meteorologist Mackenzie Bart and I teamed up to look into how the science behind this has an impact on you, especially this year in the year of COVID, what the coronavirus does to seasonal depression, and how you can do something about it.
It's hard to fight off the winter blues as we retreat inside with the days turning darker and colder. With the lack of light and now lack of social setting, seasonal affective disorder or seasonal depression may be hitting us even harder this year.
During our wintertime, Columbus sees about 60 days where that happens, or about 67% of the time where we're cloudy. If you get closer to the lake, up in Cleveland, for instance, it's 76% of the days, so about 8 to 10 days more of cloudy conditions up there.
During our winter months, numerous systems like Alberta Clippers and Colorado Lows will bring added cloud cover to the Ohio Valley. But also, the interaction between cold Canadian air and the Great Lakes is the reason why we see more cloudy days than sunshine.
Usually those colder systems from Canada, when they approach the Great Lakes, they're colder. They're moving over warmer lakes, and the Great Lakes take a while to warm up. So what happens is that some of that heat and moisture gets lifted. It's in that surface, and then with the right above the water, I should say. And because the air is colder, it continues to rise. It condenses and forms clouds.
The sun is also setting earlier since we turned the clocks back in November, allowing for more hours of darkness. During the winter solstice, December 21st, the northern hemisphere is tilted at its farthest point away from the sun, a day where we see more hours of darkness than light. The lack of light really can affect people's moods, especially those that suffer from seasonal affective disorder, or SAD. According to Dr. Luan Fawn, the chair of psychiatry at the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, as the season changes, so do certain markers in the brain.
But with seasonal depression, what triggers some of those changes is related to the shortening of the days and less sunlight out there. We as human beings, as animals, have a circadian clock that regulates when we sleep, when we're awake, how much energy we have from day to night. And that's regulated pretty closely biologically. There are also a couple of chemicals, neurochemicals, that affect our sleep-wake cycle and our energy levels because of the changing day-night schedule as well.
The good news is once we turn the corner into the new year, we'll start seeing earlier sunrises and later sunsets, allowing for more hours of daylight. Reporting from Columbus, Mackenzie Bart, 10 TV News.
All right, thank you, Mackenzie. That's a look at the science behind it. And of course, we're just looking at such a tough year in general. Things could get a little rocky this year, but coming up tonight on 10 TV, I'll explain how you can get ahead of some of that seasonal depression and what you can do about it.
All right, Molly, a lot of folks taking notes on that.
Yeah. Sometimes people, I've heard they use those lamps that can kind of help balance out that circadian rhythm, so that'll be good.
I actually got a few this year. I think that you just have to be proactive about it, right? And know what, what your triggers might be, especially during a year that's already been so hard.
Exactly. It's interesting. Talk about those lamps. I've got one of my Met 101 books, Meteorology 101. They've got a bunch of, students, I think it was in Finland, I want to say, but they're standing around one of those lamps where they don't have sunlight so they can get that vitamin D. And it's amazing what a little bit of sunlight can do for your disposition. Yeah. And it's kind of depressing, too, because they talk about, the lake effect. And, yeah, you get lake effect snow. We get the lake effect clouds. Now, granted, I know some people don't like snow, but at least it's pretty when there's snow on the ground. Here, it just gets gray. I actually once told my wife, I was like, yeah, the reason why the Buckeyes are scarlet and gray is because during football season, the only color you see is a cardinal, and then you have the gray clouds behind you. She's like, really? I'm like, no, that's not true, but it sounds like it could be. Yeah, because that's basically what we deal with about 3 to 4 months of the year, what I like to call the gray season. But you know what? If you have a sunny disposition, it's not too bad.